Joe Mazzulla is done with our questions. This is going to make the last few weeks of the season kind of interesting. And what impact does Baylor Scheierman coming up big lately have on the rest of the season? It's all right now in the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Plus like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Rated Jayson, how it started, raising business, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekends when they play. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. It gets dropped directly to your favorite podcasting app. Watch the show on YouTube. Hop into that comment section. Share your thoughts with me, John Karalis. I am beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've been doing some level of Celtics coverage for about 20 years now. So I know a couple of things, I think, about this team, and hopefully that comes through for you on this podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Obviously, the big story in Celtics land is still Baylor Scheierman and his big kind of month of March, for him anyway. He's hit 11 three-pointers this season. 10 have come in March. 6 were in the last game alone. So what is that? How does that impact the Celtics moving forward? I'd love to ask Joe Mazzulla that question, but he hates everybody in the media now. Not really, but let's bring in Tom Westerholm, who, for people who want a little peek behind the curtain in all of these home games, Tom is our designated Joe Mazzulla transcriber. So yeah. Tom has like a very deep personal kind of experience with every one of Joe Mazzulla's post-game, at least the home press conferences. It's funny, Tom. First of all, Tom, how are you?
I'm good, man. If I'd been thinking ahead more than like 1.5 seconds, I would have had like 8 different Mazzulla little turns of phrases that he's always throwing out there. Like he's a very interesting guy to transcribe. Like the way he talks, he'll like start a sentence and then just kind of plow straight ahead through a bunch of words that aren't quite right sometimes, but then he'll hit like a ton of you-knows and like rights, and you have to decide like, okay, do we all need me to transcribe every every right question mark? Like, I don't know what to do. So it's good stuff.
It's interesting. So the Joe Mazzulla, I put it in the graphic here, Joe Mazzulla versus the media. And all the graphics are going to be like, Joe hates these questions, and he does hate these questions. But let me just start off by saying that in no way is anything that I'm about to say any critical of Joe Mazzulla and the job that he's doing or the way that he's handling the media necessarily. I enjoy actually the challenge of trying to navigate Joe Mazzulla's brain, which I think is extraordinarily, he has an extraordinary brain. He is extraordinarily smart. I think he has a great grasp of human nature and all of that stuff. He's a very smart guy. Yeah. He's also a very nice guy. Like none of anything that he does in that media room has any level of personal, no personal anything tinged with it. So when people say, oh, he must hate this report or that report. No, I don't think he hates anybody.
Yeah.
But he does hate some of the questions. And I think where I want to start is phrasing is everything. And why am I bringing this up? Because I think he's kind of like, he's hit the wall with us. And it makes it difficult to kind of get some of the things that we want or some of the answers that we're looking for. It makes it a little difficult to get them out of him, but also he's he's not one to just play along. He's not going to take, like a lot of coaches will take a question that's phrased maybe, maybe not the best, and they'll just kind of understand what the intent is, and give an answer and move on. I don't think Joe wants that. I think Joe is pushing the media to be better in their question asking, much like he's pushing his players to be better in their execution of plays and all that stuff. So, what's your feeling on that?
No, I think that's a very insightful way to look at him, because I think you're exactly right that it's not being unkind. He's not necessarily being rude. He's being short,
Being short.
He is but I do think that there is some level, right? Like, you get used to Brad Stevens, right? Where it's like, you can give Brad Stevens a word salad and Brad Stevens will give you back something approximatingly close that doesn't really actually give you any information, right?
Right. He's a master at that.
Oh, unbelievable. I still remember there was a press conference years ago, I don't know how many years ago, that some drunk guy snuck into the Celtics.
Yes.
I think there was a fire alarm that was going off at TD Garden, and there was a whole mix-up, and a couple of guys managed to slide into, I think this is right. I could be mixing events, but some drunk guy slides into the press conference room, is like, Brad, what can you tell us about Kelly the Clinic Olynyk? And it was like, and Brad answered the question. Brad was just like, yeah, he's a good player. Just kind of gave a very Brad Stevens answer. Joe Mazzulla is not. Joe Mazzulla is a different brand of person, and he's a fascinating dude that way. I do think that I think he expects a lot of himself. I think he expects a lot of his team, and I think he expects a lot of the people who cover his team. If you're going to be there covering his basketball team, he has a standard that he wants people to achieve. He has high standards for the people around him, and that he is a person whose job it is to have high standards and inspire people to reach those high standards. It's one of the things that that's very literally part of his job description, and he carries that out on everyone. So it makes sense, from a personality standpoint.
So it's I hear an echo all of a sudden. And now it's gone. So with Joe, so when I say he's not playing along is the best way I can put it. A lot of times when these post games, so people know this is basically, we're going fishing every post game. We're all going fishing for quotes, and we want great quotes, because a great quote can make a great headline, a great sub headline, a great tweet to promote your post. So we are hoping for certain kinds of answers. So some of the questions are admittedly leading, you're Baylor Scheierman. And we're in a spot where Baylor goes off for 20 points. Now for the Celtics, and we'll get to the whole basketball part of this. What does this mean for the Celtics? Not in the grand scheme of things this year, not much. Not much. I mean, if Baylor's getting playoff minutes, something has happened, and that's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping that he can step up. Okay. But on March 18th, Baylor Scheierman dropping 20 points, 4 points in the fourth quarter, four 3-pointers in the fourth quarter, 12 points to win a close game. We're all like, hallelujah, I got something to write about. And because we all have space to fill. I can't go to my boss. I can't go to Greg Bedard at Boston Sports Journal and be like, yeah, I'm not writing anything about this game, because my job is to write a game story and a column after every game. And I can't tell him no. So I got to write about something. And when it's handed to me on a silver platter, I'm taking it. But Joe doesn't give a damn. Baylor did what he's supposed to do. What do you want from me? This is I can hear the internal monologue for Joe. He's like, what do you want me to say? Like, yes, this is a rookie that did something nice. That's nice. But his job is to hit shots, and he hits shots. But more than that, his job is to come in there and play hard and defend and do all, like, he's a rookie. He's supposed to do all the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And he did that. And that's nice. And that's end of story for Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah.
8 more questions on it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so interesting because it's like Baylor's job isn't actually to come in and make shots. Baylor's job is to come in and show energy and show like stuff on the defensive end and grab some offensive rebounds and do some little filler things that you're actually expected to do as a rookie. Him hitting threes is great, but like Joe Mazzulla has been around basketball long enough to know that if you're a shooter, sometimes you're going to get hot, and Baylor got hot on a given night. And that's nice. It's good. Sure, it's great that he can make NBA three-pointers, but it's way more important that he shows little flashes of defensive, promise, and that he grabs an offensive rebound here and there, and he's flying around after things. Like, that's for Joe Mazzulla, those are the important things. And he's getting 8 questions about the three-pointers, which are nice, but not really Baylor's job. So I don't know. It makes for a very interesting dynamic.
I love talking about this. We're going to continue this.
Yeah.
The phrasing is the important thing, and the repetitiveness. Oh, he hates the repetitiveness. We're going to get to all of that next. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC. As of November 18th, 2024, Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Download that Game Time app and set your lineups. No, Game Time is the ticketing. I got this. Game Time makes getting tickets. I get Game Time and Prize Picks mixed up because Game Time has the Game Time Picks feature that filters out fluff when you're going to get the tickets from whatever you want, from sports to concerts to comedy shows, all of that stuff. So the Game Time Picks feature filters out that fluff. It gets you the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. Easy ticket shopping. Whenever you're scrolling through, it's amazing deals on huge matchups. If you want to go to a game, their Game Time Picks even highlight super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. And with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now, please sign up for that new Locked On Celtics newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, enter your email. Well, click on the Locked On Celtics logo, enter your email. And then once you're signed up, I will send you an email Monday through Friday. Celtics coverage, NBA coverage, fantasy coverage, plus links to Celtics coverage around the internet. So go check it out at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo. I found that the more Joe mumbles when he's giving an answer, the less interested he is in the question. When he speaks clearly, he's engaged with the question and is interested in answering it. I think honestly, he just wants people to have critical, thinking when it comes to this. So one question, And again, I'm not calling out the question. I understand what the question was. It was about Baylor Scheierman getting subbed out with 4 minutes to go, I think, in the fourth quarter. And here's a guy, a rookie, but still a guy that is hot. He hit 4 3-pointers, scored 12 points in the fourth quarter. He's got it going. And you sub him out. And the question is, basically, it's not phrased this way, but the question is, when you have a player, any player.
Brad Stevens would have interpreted it as.
Yes. Any player, if he's got it going, do you give any thought to just, hey, look, I know this is not the person I'd normally leave in at this point, but he's got it going and he's playing well. Do you leave him in longer? Or do you leave him in like is there anything there? And it's a question from a person who's never coached in the NBA.
Right.
And it's one thing that I have personally talked to Joe and be like, we ask questions because we don't know. You're the one who's in the NBA. We're not. And so it's not coming from a place of like stupidity. It's coming from a place of like, we don't know. And I think some people just have that thought. But the way the question was probably phrased, I think Joe just was like, his answer was about the subbing out. He's like, well, Baylor's a rookie and Derrick White's our starting point guard. And that was it. And it comes off as like Joe's being a jerk and he's trying to make a reporter look bad. But I think he's like frustrated by the question of like, buddy, I just subbed Derrick White in for Baylor Scheierman. Why are you questioning that? And I don't think he's fully understanding the reason for some of the questions. And like I said before, some of it's just we're fishing for things and we're trying to write a story in our heads as these questions are being asked. And we're like, oh yeah, he got subbed out. What was that about? And 90% of the stuff that's said doesn't make it into the stories, but like, you never know what question's going to get you the right quote. So I don't know. I wanted to talk about it partly because there's like, I find it interesting. And I think people talk about this stuff and I think they might get the wrong idea about what Joe is doing. I would like him to play along a little bit more, but also I don't think he wants us to be like asking questions where he plays along. He wants us to be, hey, we're Boston, man. We're Boston. The Celtics are a great basketball team with a great history. I'm trying to be a great coach. You guys got to be great reporters. So you got to ask great questions. And if you don't, then I'm not giving you a great answer. You got to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we're Boston, right? It's like, okay, so this is the city where, Bob Ryan was on the beat for years and years and years. This is the city where, Jackie McMullen was on NBC Sports Boston and has been like, documenting the NBA from like around this region for forever. Like there's not only has there been great basketball, there's been great coverage of basketball and like
Hall of Fame writers.
Yeah, absolutely. Hall of Fame broadcasters, Hall of Fame everything, right? And if you're Joe Mazzulla, you're like I don't know. Think about, okay, so if you're Joe Mazzulla and you are coaching Jayson Tatum, right? You are coaching a guy who is going to go down in Celtics history, which is NBA history, right? Like Celtics history is NBA history, is Celtics history, is NBA. It's all tied together because this franchise means so much to the league.
Yes.
You are coaching a guy who is going to go down as one of the best players, and not like one of the best players as in like, oh, like, he's top 10 for sure. No. We're talking about a Pantheon Mount Rushmore Celtic right now in Jayson Tatum. You're coaching that guy. And it's as a coach, it's your responsibility to put him in the best position to win and all of that kind of stuff and to get the most out of him. But like, is there a part of you that's a little bit like also trying to make sure like, hey, there needs to be like the right coverage of this guy because the coverage does determine a lot of that stuff, right? And like Joe Mazzulla thinks about everything. I bet you part of what he's thinking too is like, hey, like you guys need to this this is history right here. This is basketball history. Like, so cover it the right way. Like, and like, don't ask me dumb questions. I don't have time for dumb questions. I got time. And not that all the questions are dumb. Like you said, I think people are fishing. People are trying to do their jobs.
Right.
And I think Joe Mazzulla is like, hey, this is a high standard basketball team. Yeah. I expect there to be high standards from the media covering it as well to make sure that it is properly documented, because you guys are documenting what I'm doing, and what I'm doing and what this team is doing is historic.
That's the best point here. You just made the best point. The way players are covered shapes their legacy. Yeah. And he's not going to just give good stuff to anybody when he's coaching a legacy, like, again, like you said, a Mount Rushmore kind of player, a guy who's going to, he's already a Hall of Famer now, and he's just hitting his prime. That I think is part of the whole thing. He does. You're right. He does think of everything. And listen, he gets me all the time. You know, I asked him a pregame question about, hey, you know, the top 3 seeds are basically set. How are you going to approach these next 14 games? You know, are there lineups? Are there plays? Or is something else? Is there a difference? And he basically, any little way, you ever watch an octopus kind of like wriggle its way out of a tiny jar? It just figures a way out. Like he that's what he does, man. He just, any little sliver of an escape, he's like, yeah, it's not, as far as I'm concerned, nothing's set because nothing's been locked up. So no, we got to go win. We've got to go win. And you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate him, because you know what that means? He's not accepting the premise that things are done, because if he accepts it, the players accept it. The players hear everything he says. And like Torrey Craig came here and he talked about what Joe said on my podcast. He heard it. That makes the rounds. Yeah. So he's not going to accept something, the premise that things are decided, because it's not decided, and he needs his team to play a certain way. So if he gives in to my premise, then the team hears it and they give in to my premise that things are set. So now it becomes mess around time. And right. Like, yeah, we're just going to go play with different lineups, and we're going to try new things. And Jayson, like, not that I expect, like, these aren't 3-year-olds. They're not just going to go run crazy, but any little bit, like, Joe wants every little psychological advantage. And so he's never going to let his team, through us, through the media, hear anything that is detrimental to them, detrimental to the process, detrimental to the goal. So yeah, it is up to me. Yeah. And I had Drew Carter on here, and he said the same thing. You got to go to Joe. You got to go at Joe with real questions, real stuff. If you ask a real question, then he'll give you a real answer. But if you just go in there and be like, let me just throw this out there, it's throwing an underhand pitch to, you know, Shohei Ohtani, and he's just gonna rip it right back and take your head off. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even last night, right? There was like, you know, he got asked, like, you know, about his team taking the game seriously, basically, and he was just like, I was another one that he just was like, I don't know what people's expectations were, but that's a good team. Lists off a bunch of things about the Nets that, like, is pretty fair, right? He's like, I know they're 2-9 in their last 11. They had a double-digit lead against Cleveland, double-digit lead against OKC. Gave us a tough game, well coached. He's like, it's all this stuff again, right? It's these things that he's right about, and, like, you know, yes, for sure, it's good that the Celtics were serious about playing the Nets, a not good team. But for Joe Mazzulla, he's not looking at the Nets as a not good team, and he doesn't expect his team to look at the Nets as a not good team. And I think he also expects, you know, the people asking him questions to probably also think of them as a good basketball team, because it's the NBA. It's hard to win. My last thing here is just a plea to Joe. If this ever gets back to him, I understand. Like I said, I've spent 24 minutes here understanding where he's coming from. I think I do want to throw out there that I hope these guys do understand, though, that we got long nights, man.
That is unquestionably true.
Our night is only halfway done when their night is over. And especially if Jayson's done something or Jaylen's done something, those guys take forever. Because after the game, they go and they do a lift and a cold plunge and a stretch and a this and a that, and they get all the treatment, and that's okay, fine. I get it.
Yeah. That takes priority for sure.
That's okay. Yeah. So we wait, and we wait a long time. It's sometimes like an hour after the game is over before Jayson Tatum talks. And that means that I'm not going to bed till like 4 a.m. And just I understand I have to be better with the questions, but can we just please understand that sometimes it's just not going to be perfect, and we're trying, and just give me a tiny little bit of a break. It's like, yes, okay, I fouled him, but are you really going to call that in that situation? Like that mentality, like, okay, yes, I didn't phrase it correctly. You know what I'm trying to ask. Can you please just understand what I'm trying to ask? And maybe the words didn't come out of my mouth the right way, just like now. And throw me a bone here, man. Will you please? That's it.
Yeah. My only request of Joe Mazzulla is that for those of us trying to transcribe him, just like 2% slower would be really helpful.
All right, let's talk about Baylor Scheierman and his impact on this team moving forward. Today's show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who has delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple candidates will be available for you to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork finds affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Nights. I'm there on Fridays with Jake Madison. Game night 7 days a week covering the NBA, every game in the NBA. So go subscribe to Locked On NBA. You'll get 2 podcasts on that feed, Game Night and the regular Locked On NBA podcast. Tom, Baylor Scheierman, the cause of a number of questions that kind of hurt Joe Mazzulla's brain.
Taxed anyway, yes.
Yes. But look, he's doing everything he's being asked, right? And you were right before. His job is actually come in, play hard, defend, make these, offensive rebounds, all the little things. Just support everybody else in whatever way you can. Playing hard, grab those offensive rebounds. And if you get a shot, take it, make it, take it with confidence, right? You're going to get these looks. So go ahead and take them. I don't know. First of all, I guess the question is, how does that impact the rest of this regular season? Is this now a new, I feel like this could just be like, hey, here's a guy that can take some of the minutes away from, Drew Holiday, give him an extra day off. You can do that with a little bit more confidence with some of the guys on the perimeter. And you say, okay, even like Jaylen or Jayson on one of those back-to-backs.
Sure.
I think Baylor comes in and has the, when I say split squad, like now Baylor becomes your shortstop. Like he's in the split squad now. So I think the biggest impact is obviously going to be his ability to give guys a little bit of a break as they ramp up and rest appropriately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, you know me, when it comes to younger guys and like guys who, rookies, that kind of thing. If I'm right about them, you take a small
very subdued. Very subdued. Barely ever mentioned.
No. Listen, I'm a victory lap taker. I can own that.
I agree that.
I'm not gonna take a huge one on Baylor Scheierman. I just was like, I could kind of see, when they drafted him, I was like, I can kind of see the vision here. I could see him potentially doing kind of this. Honestly, I wasn't like, oh, this guy's gonna be starting in his first year or anything insane like that. It was more just like, yeah, toward the end of the year, there's a chance that he could pitch in a little bit. So victory lap complete. I agree with you, especially like the split squad aspect of it too. I mean, I think Sam Hauser is going to be the one that everybody immediately like jumps to. But the truth is, right, like, the way this team is built, the number of ball handlers they have, the number of bigs they have, anybody who can kind of play a wing-ish position, right, is going to be pretty interchangeable with a lot of those guys. Because, yeah, if you've got Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford available on a night, you got a chance to win pretty much whoever else you throw out there. Baylor's tall enough to, kind of do a couple of things out there. That's the perfect kind of guy to just be able to throw into those split squad looks. So, yeah, no, I think that's the big thing this year. I think, to be clear, when we talk about how shooting isn't part of his job right this second, that doesn't extend to next year. Next year, shooting will very much be part of his job. So anytime he's making threes, that's a good thing. That's a positive sign for the future. It's just not the thing he's going to be asked to do right this second. Yeah, I think of like Terry Rozier, his first season, right? It's like the only thing he needed to do in his very first season was just literally like hustle a little bit, play a little defense, show that he could kind of last on that end. Baylor's big job this year is show that he can hold up a little bit on the defensive end, and then some of the offensive stuff starts coming into play next year, I think, is really when it starts to matter. But, a few threes in here and there have certainly never hurt anybody.
No, not at all. I do think, like we said before, if he's getting playoff minutes, either the game's very decided and he's getting garbage time minutes, or something bad has happened. I think the most immediate impact outside of, guys get a little bit more rest. Maybe it allows Brad Stevens to take a bigger swing in the draft. Or maybe with a player. If you have a feeling that Baylor is a hit, right? If you look at him and you say, okay, this is sustainable, this is going to work. He is going, he's 24 years old, so he's going to hit his prime pretty quickly. He's going to be part of, if you say he can be part of the rotation pretty quickly, even, maybe off the bench, 7th, 8th, 9th man somewhere next year, whatever. You say, okay.
I only hoped Jordan Walsh would be this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you can now, I'm not saying you move Jordan Walsh. Maybe it allows you to take more time with Jordan Walsh because you don't need him. You don't need him right now. You're like, okay. And he's the young guy. He's the youngest guy on the team right now. He's 21. So give him, maybe you can say, okay, we're going to take a little bit more time with him. We like where he's going, but there's no immediate need for him. So we're not going to trade him for somebody we need right now because Baylor's going to slide in. And then maybe in the draft, wherever they end up drafting, it's going to be at the bottom again. You say, all right, we'll take I don't even know what the bigger swing would be, but there's less pressure to find a guy that hits. So you're like, okay, we're intrigued by this guy. We're going to go with him, knowing that you've already hit once at 30, the 30th overall pick. If you hit at 30, then you get like a grace period at the bottom of the draft for the next year. Like you've done your job. Like it's so hard to hit in these spots 30 and into the second round. And here the Celtics are. I mean, look at the second rounders that they've got on this team. Look at the guys at the end of the draft that they've got on this team that are playing really, really well here. So I think that's the biggest effect right now of Scheierman.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to end because I'm not like Joe Mazzulla said, we're not going to spend too much time talking about Baylor Scheierman. The kid's a rookie, man. Let's get over it.
I have 8 more questions for you about him. Let's go.
Okay.
I don't. Did you think that he got confidence from that game?
I couldn't even keep a straight face. That confidence question was great. He's like, because it was a good question at the end.
Yeah.
You know, about like, is confidence overblown? Like, yeah.
Honestly, that was a good, and Joe talked for quite a while about it.
And he's like, you said it, not me. Like yes. And you know what, to be fair, I'm saying this at minute 36. No one's going to hear me being fair to Joe about this. He was playing along with the confidence questions. So for me to say he doesn't play along was wrong. He does. He just doesn't do it as much as other guys. Like Brad would always play along. He just get you through it, give you your quotes, which ended up being, I even told Brad this. I'm like, you know what your greatest strength was? Talking forever and not saying a damn thing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I left a press conference, a Brad Stevens press conference saying, okay, this is going to be great. And then going through the quotes and be like, there's nothing here. He said nothing, actually.
It's that Midwest nice, man.
Damn, man. He really got us. He really got us. I would venture to that Brad Stevens worse with the media than Joe Mazzulla, because Brad gave us a bunch of nothing. He just blah, 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 blah. And it became white noise. At least when Joe said something.
He was a white noise guy.
Yeah. At least Joe in the middle of everything gave us the, Baylor has an FU attitude. That's a great quote. That's actually a great quote. Like in the middle of it all, he did drop a great quote. And maybe the answer is just to keep pissing Joe off until he's like, no, you know what? Here's the real answer. I don't know. All right, that's it. That's where we're gonna end this podcast. Tom, always appreciate you, my man.
Appreciate you, man.
And I appreciate all of you listening, watching. Celtics play the Jazz on Friday. This is the Thursday show, so I got one more podcast before they play that game. I'll have a bonus podcast after that game. So keep coming back for more Locked On Celtics coverage here. Subscribe, get the show directly to your favorite podcasting app. Watch the show on YouTube. I'd love it if you share your thoughts. And then when you're done with that, share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.